But there's so many steps along that way. So simply just talking with your friends, talking with your family, people that there's a safe environment with, and testing things out. Like, what was the success of the way you tried to communicate something?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And today we have Mike that had helped to raise companies and startups to raise over 200 million. Mike, can you please introduce yourself?
Of course, yeah. So everyone, my name is Mike Lane Evans. I trained as an actor. I worked as an actor from the age of 8. And after sort of 20 or so years of doing this, I found myself in a situation in 2016 where every room I was going into, every casting, every interview, I was failing. I was not achieving what I had practiced, what I was setting out to do. And the way I described this at the time was it felt like I was giving 60% of myself. There was this ceiling, there was this barrier that was not allowing me to give 100% of myself. And so at the time I was working with the British military. I was helping do some training, some communication coaching. And I built some strategies and some models for communication that underpin a lot of the work that I do now with my business, Forefront Coaching. And in my research, I discovered that in the UK, where I'm based, 83% of people have reported the same feeling that I did. 83% of people report this ceiling, this lack of ability to connect with people, to communicate, and to actually achieve the things that they set out to achieve. So what we do at Forefront Coaching is help people to increase their impact through their communication. And we do this through a number of different courses, which we can talk about maybe later on today, but it's really about helping people to better connect so that they can achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that every single problem and business is all about problems and solving problems. Every single problem out there can be solved in communication, right? If you have effective communication, any problem can be solved, right? Sometimes we hold back, and few things that we discover out of this communication is the fear of public speaking, the fear of communicate, the fear of what people are gonna say if I raise this, and have a huge impact. Some people stay in the same job for 20, 25 years. They did never ask a raise because they have this lack of confidence, or they need funding, and they have this fear. We have reached over 1 million people, helping them how to become the fear of public speaking. So we are really aware of this problem. So what is your point, Mike, or your view in how you can help them also to break this fear?
Honestly, one of the best pieces of advice I can give is get your 10,000 hours in. So if anyone...
Oh, I love it. I like this.
Yeah, like any one of your listeners or watchers who isn't familiar with what I'm talking about, there is a theory that if you spend 10,000 hours doing something, you can become an expert. So even you, Harry, can become a ballet dancer if you start now and you spend 10,000 hours. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are some limitations to it, but one of the biggest issues that I see with communication is that people don't put the practice in. They spend lots of time building their product, building their MVP. They maybe even spend lots of time talking to customers, but they're not really focusing on what they say or how they say it to their customers. They don't put any practice into this stuff. And maybe they get great calls with customers and they never buy. They don't take up the product or the service. Maybe they have great calls with investors, but that investor just ghosted them. Maybe they have really bad calls, but they don't know why these things are happening. And like you just said, Harry, very wisely, all of this can be solved with improving your communication. So if you put that 10,000 hours in, and of course, that's where we believe as coaches that we're allowing people to put some of that practice in. So sometimes there's lots of insights from us, and sometimes people just need to put that concerted practice in and get those 10,000 hours.
100%, yeah, because I think people are gonna listen this podcast, they're gonna watch and oh my god, Harry's amazing, Mike is amazing, they can do it, I cannot do it. And what they don't know is that we have done already 10,000 hours on this. I always say that public speaking and the communication is a skill, right? So
Yeah.
it's not a talent. I have a cousin that know how to paint, and he said his painting really expensive. You have a singer that can have certain talent, right? But communication is not talent. It's not a talent. It's a skill base. Basically, like driving or swimming. The more you practice, the better you become. When you start driving, you cannot drive after you practice a lot. Some people already drive and take the phone. It's not that you can do it. You're allowed to do it, but it's because you practice and done so much. So how difficult or how you can communicate this to your clients, to the people that you help with, Mike, that they can actually understand that they all can do this. This is not something that, oh, Harry, Mike can do it, I cannot do it, I'm not good enough, I'm not this. This is something that everyone can do it. How can you open this conversation with your clients?
So I actually think like we tell stories all day, every day. Whether we're good at storytelling or bad at storytelling, like we all use stories. There's a whole theory around this is what sets us apart from animals. And so we do it whether we're realizing we're doing it or not. So I'm sure some of your listeners are really cringing at this and they're saying, I'm not a storyteller. I hate this idea. Why do you use the term storytelling? But there's so many steps along that way. So simply just talking with your friends, talking with your family, people that there's a safe environment with, and testing things out. Like, what was the success of the way you tried to communicate something? So one of the things I talk to a lot of my clients about, imagine that you're with a friend and you both have kids and you're trying to say, listen, let's get babysitters for the kids. Let's go out for dinner tonight. Let's go and get drunk maybe. Let's go and like have a fun night. Like, let's not be responsible for a night. You're going to speak to that friend in a particular way, in a tone of voice and energy. There is an intention behind that because you want them to go to the restaurant. Now, the next day, that friend has stayed over at your house and you need them to leave you alone because you have so much work to do. You can't talk to them. You're going to speak to them in a very, very different way. And we know this instinctively as humans. We understand because there's an intention to go to the restaurant. There's an intention to leave me alone. And a lot of times what happens is that when people come to presenting their business, talking about their brand, being at a networking event, they forget their intention. Their intention is just sell, 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 become a millionaire, become a millionaire. And it's not. I need to connect with this human being and understand, does this human being need my product or need my service? And so before you get to all the scary people that you don't know, go test it out with all the safe people that you do know. So if any of your listeners are watching and they feel they're so far away from this, that is where I would say start speaking with your friends, speaking with your family, and notice what do you do to influence them and what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, because I think we learn from stories, right? Even when we are babies, our parents tell us stories to go to sleep. So the best way of communication and to engage an audience is with the story, right? And there are now let's talk about business because we find a lot of issues with entrepreneurs, not with entrepreneurs, but with everyone out there. When people are preparing the pitch deck and they need to present in front of the investors to raise funds, right? Now they have also this barrier, and this barrier is embedded within their unconscious mind because let's face it, when we are kids, our parents is telling us, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers. And but then we need to go out there as an entrepreneur and share our pitch deck and talk to strangers. And you find this fear, this barrier that entrepreneurs and startup founders are facing, that no, I don't want to present, no, I don't want to do this, can you do it for me? And they finding the excuse to do practice is because this fear is there. So how difficult is to navigate this issue and get the entrepreneur on board and say, hey, exactly like you shared with us, you do need to make the 10,000 hours. You're gonna be fine. This is all you need is practice and the right mentors.
So just to check, I understand what you mean. How do I convince my clients that they do need to put in the practice?
To practice, yes.
Gosh, a really good question. We work with
because it's difficult to get them on board, yeah, because they have the fear.
Yeah, everyone, like, people are going to have that fear. I mean, we work with clients who come to us themselves. We work with clients who have been strongly recommended by friends or by colleagues to come and see us. And we also work with people within organizations where it's already been paid for. So they just get sort of told, hey, listen, here's a resource for you. And so I would say it's slightly different. I'm working backwards because they're the easier things. With where the organization has already brought us in and we're working with those individual clients, the quality of the work is the thing that convinces them. Because like the way that I am communicating, the way that I'm being, even just now on the podcast, is just me. I'm just being genuine. And one of the things that we talk about so much in our early training is something called the trust equation. So have you talked about that on this podcast before, Harry?
No.
Okay, so it's a study from a guy called David Mayer or David Meyer, depends how you pronounce the surname. The trust equation, for those mathematically minded people who are listening to this, you can literally go do the equation and you can figure out your trust score. For me, though, it's really about just there are 4 key parts that are needed, and we know this scientifically from study, to gain people's trust. So we need credibility, we need reliability. Now, those things, we understand them. A lot of founders, a lot of people who are setting up businesses, they understand, of course. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean it's easy to get people to see you as credible or to see you as reliable. We understand, okay, I need to do the things I said, I need to prove it out, and I need to show up and prove it all. Credibility, reliability. The other 2 metrics are things that I see, I would say 90% of my clients not considering when we first meet them. Intimacy or vulnerability is a key component for trust. And the other thing is self-orientation. So putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So just to summarize all of this, we want to have high credibility, high reliability, and high levels of intimacy or vulnerability. And we need to have low levels of self-orientation, because if all I'm doing is thinking about myself, I'm not thinking, hey, listen, this customer just doesn't even need this product. I'm wasting my time and their time. So those 4 things are really, really important. And when we look at working with my clients, those who've already been paid for, it's easy because we build that vulnerability and that intimacy so soon that there's a safe environment for them to just try things out, to fail, to take risks, to challenge themselves. And everybody will get some level of success. It might be 1%, it might be 100% level of success. That success feels good at the end of the day. We've evolved, we've improved, and we've stepped forward. So those who haven't worked with us yet, who we're meeting for the first time, we're able to talk about the revenue that we brought in for companies. We're able to show case studies. If we go back to storytelling as an idea, storytelling is human. And so what we do is we talk about clients that have existed, problems that they've had, and how we were able to help those problems. Bringing out those use cases is one of the strongest human ways to show people the value that you can provide.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.